Okay, I think we are live. Happy Monday, everybody. There is always that moment before you go live and you're like, does my microphone work? Is everything working? So I always check. I just want to double check. Okay, it looks like you guys can hear me and see me. So I have to say, we are 72 hours away from the end of 2024 and getting into 2025. And so I'm going to starting a series for the next 20 days. I'll be going live on this page to work through this workbook. This is the 20 questions to reinvent my life. And I will put the link where you can grab this for free in the chat below. Actually, let me do that right now while we are getting started. This way, if you need to hop off or whatever and you want to grab it, you can. So I will stick that in there. But it's really a time that I want to go through as a self reflect. One of the phrases that I've been saying a lot recently, if you've been in my space, is 2025 is going to be my next best year. And really thinking about, this year went by and there's a lot of things that I've accomplished that I feel good about, but I'm not really where I want to be. And if you are, that is awesome. Like, put that in the chat. We want to hear that. We want to be able to celebrate you. If you're like, you know what, I just had the best year. I just really accomplished a goal. I'll get it here, Grosso. Work for free. And I'll put that there here. I don't go live on this page a lot too. So this is also a little bit for me to get comfortable showing up and going live with you guys in more of a public page. I go live all the time in my private groups, but not really in a public page. And there is something very different about how that feels. In a private group, these are people who've chosen to be in my space. They've said, yes, they want to hear from me. In a live setting, you just kind of feel like you're throwing yourself out there with the sharks, particularly if anybody's if you hang out on social media, keyboard warriors are real. It is crazy to me, the amount of aggression and keyboard warriors that we have in the world. And so going live in a public page is actually really out of my comfort zone, which might surprise a lot of you, particularly if you are in my private groups where I go live all of the time. But with that being said, I want to develop that skill. So I'm going to show up for the next 20 days, but also I want to be able to work through this with you. So you can grab this in the link. There is a link to grab this for free. And this is one of the things that's in the Hey Girl You Can community in the resource library. And it's 20 questions to reinvent my life. And it was really sitting down and saying, at the end of every year, I've always made a chart for my team where we go through different questions to self-reflect and to step back and say, what do I want? There is a study that shows that people spend more time planning their summer vacations than they actually plan their life. That to me is crazy. Now, maybe that's because I don't take super extravagant summer vacations. But imagine you're spending more time planning one year than you plan your whole life. And I will say this, that as I've gotten older, and I just sent out an email to my community today, I feel like this last year went by so fast. And I don't know if it's just a normal progress with age, if I'm living in some kind of time warp stimulation. But I literally feel like I was just planning my daughter's college graduation and prom and buying all of her stuff for college. And now she has just finished her first semester of college. And what that makes me realize is that time is getting faster and faster. What that also means is that my dreams, my goals, the things that I want to create and do are slipping through my fingers faster and faster. And if I do not slow down, regroup, get a plan in place, a strategy in place, it will be this time next year. And yes, I'll have accomplished some things, but it may not be with the purposeful, proactive feeling that I'm really looking for. And so for the next 20 days, we're going to be showing up together and going through these 20 questions so that we can really reflect and come up with a strategy and a plan so that this is your next best year. That this is the year that things start to shift, change, show up for you in a different way, where you go, wow, yeah, this year was really the year that changed things. So we're going to start with today's first question. And it's, what aspects of my current self do I want to change or improve? And guys, this is a real basic question to start with. It's an easy one, right? It's before we dig deeper into the ones that involve a little bit more reflection, a little bit more thought. Let's start with the easy ones. It's kind of that, what the idea that if something seems really you could say eat the frog first. There's that idea where you start with the hardest thing. But sometimes to get the ball rolling, if you just start with an easy win, a quick win, something that you go, okay, I can do this, then you're more likely to continue. So, what aspects of my current self do I want to change or improve? And I have seen people, when faced with this question, kind of go to a few extremes. So, either they're like, I have two notebooks full of things that I want to change or improve about myself. Or they're like, I'm fine. I don't need to change. I don't need to grow. This is just the way that I am. And neither of those, I think, are very healthy. And when I say healthy, I mean neither of them serve us well. Okay. So if you're sitting here and you think, well, if I said of all the things that I want to change and improve, my gosh, Tara, I'd be sitting here for an hour making a list. Then I would say, take a deep breath. You're probably not acknowledging all of the things that are really great about you. And you probably have an expectation to be a superhuman person. Okay, a superhuman person. We have to remember that all of us have off days. All of us have days where we don't feel like it. All of us have days where we don't respond in the way that we wish that we had, where we come home and we go, oh, I didn't really handle that the way I could have to my best. Or I didn't really give that my best, or your energy was off. And quite openly, guys, as women, this is going to be highly dependent too, just even on your cycle. There is a ton of emerging research about how you perform, how you show up, when you're most creative, when you have your most charisma, when you need to be more introverted is really linked to your hormones. There's some fascinating research going on about that. And so sometimes, you just wake up and you have an off day. It could be that you slept wrong or you don't feel well or whatever. And so we're not looking for a superhuman, somebody who's 100% of the time, right? That doesn't really exist. We're looking for, how do I show up and I show up as my best self in that day, right? And what are the things that are preventing me from being my best self? What are the things that I need to change about that? And remember, we only have a year. So we're only looking at, we want to reinvent ourselves for this year. So if you have 27 things on your list, that might be a lot. It may also be that those 27 things are very linked together. So, for example, for me, some of the things that I want to change is I want to be more proactive. I want to be a little bit more productive. I've definitely fallen into a habit that is not serving me, and that's because I get so much stuff coming in. I get, and maybe you relate to this, so many emails, so many Boxer messages, so many phone calls, so many things that I need to go through, that I can spend a big chunk of my day kind of catching up. I call it the catch up, catching up on all of that stuff that I need to respond to. And then the things that I really wanted to get done kind of got pushed to the side. Right. And that could be, maybe you have a goal because you want to write a book or you want to start an online business, but you have all of these other obligations from your family, from your kids, from your husband, from maybe another job that you're working in. So those dreams and goals kind of go here to the side. So one thing that I did was, and I would encourage you to kind of maybe use, chat GPT if you want to. I will say this particular exercise worked better with chat. I did it myself. But what I did was I really thought about what I wanted to accomplish this year, the goals that I had. I have 3 different projects that I work on between my full-time job, the Hey Girl You Can community. And I have a workbook back from when I was doing, Making Cancer Fun, that I kind of stepped back from during COVID, and I would like to get back and get that published. So I have three major projects that I'm working on in these 3 different buckets. And I kind of wrote down what were my goals for each one. And then started to streamline my schedule of what that would look like so that I could be really productive and focused on each one in a way that works for me. I am not a good person who can jump back and forth from multiple tasks. Part of what we talk about in Hey Girl You Can is you really have to know yourself. You have to know how you work and how you think and how your brain works. So for me, I'm better off with chunks of time or a day just focusing on one project. So one of my goals is to be a little bit more productive. Now I could break that down into maybe have 10 things on my list that would be things that I want to change. But really, if I funnel it all into one, it's to be more proactive. It's to be more proactive in my day. Okay. Which also is consistency, right? So that might also be on the list, consistency, but it's that proactive consistency. So you may have things that are a little bit linked together. And if that's possible, then what I would try to do is funnel that down and find the one word that really is the essence, the heart of what it is that you would want to change. Okay. Now, if you have nothing on your list, Then I would ask you, well, do you feel that if you were in the same place next year, you would be satisfied? Do you feel that? And sometimes there are times in our life where we have really worked to align with our visions, our goals, and our dreams. And we have done this work a year or 2 years ago. And you might be like, yeah, I've really put some strong things in place. But even then, I would venture there's a place to grow. And the reason I say that is because we live in a world where things are either growing or dying, but nothing is stagnant. Nothing. We are either growing or we are dying. And so growth involves change, right? And so where could you grow into a slightly better version of yourself? And it's not a different version of yourself. I want to be really clear as we go through these 20 questions. This isn't about changing who we are. This is about becoming the best version of who God created you to be. It's already in you. You already have everything that you need to be the best version of you. It's sometimes just stepping back, reflecting, asking the questions, and saying, okay, what do I really need to change? So usually if it's something that has to do with a habit, if what you need to change has to do with a habit of how you're showing up, how you're doing life, then you may only want to choose 5 or 6, maybe even 4, because it takes some time to change a habit. And we need to give ourselves, it's really more than the 21 days, right? We need to give ourselves maybe 2 months per habit. So that might be 6 habits a year that you could change. If it's something more about a quality, right? Like one of the things I really need to change about myself is being less reactive. I'm really reactive. And we'll dive deeper as we get into our 20 questions on how you'll make those changes. Right now, we just want to recognize what are those changes that we need to make. That's a little bit different, right? Now, you could argue and say, well, that's the habit of being reactive. True, right? But these are more character traits. And it might be things that are simply like, I'd like to be more organized, right? But try to find things, I would say certainly less than 10, because we really want to be able to tackle these things. Ideally, maybe about 5 that you can really focus on. Now, if you're looking at your list and you're like, but Tara, I have 20 things on my list. How do I know which one I should focus on? This is what I would say. When you're looking at what do you want to change about yourself, and this isn't changing you. This is maybe changing some habits, some thought processes, some behaviors that are stopping you from being the best version of you. This is what I really want to always get back to, that you are good enough. You don't need to be changed. Who you are, the essence of you, never needs to be changed. What happens is that life patterns, habits, thoughts, other people's thoughts that we've taken as our own, all of these things start to pile onto us and stop us from being that best, beautiful, inspiring version of ourselves. And that's who we want to get back to, or at least closer to this year. I believe when we are fully back to that person, God's like, okay, it's time to come home, right? Like there is no more growth for you. So I don't know that we ever get to that. That's really a goal for the end, but it's getting a step closer each year, a step closer and in certain ways so that we can utilize our gifts, so that we can create. We are here to create, right? We are here to have impact, here to have a difference. So, the first question of that really being, what would you want to change? We want to focus on the ones that would have the biggest impact. So, if you have or improve, right? So, this could be something that you're doing well in, you just want to improve. So, it may not be that, oh gosh, I totally need a big change, but I'd like to improve in this area. Okay. So, if you have a long list, if you've sat there and you said, oh my goodness, I have so many things that I would write down, the way you're going to narrow this down is I want you to pick the ones that would have the biggest impact in your life. If you improved this, or if you changed this 1 or 2 things, which one would have the biggest impact in your life? And the biggest ripple, think of it as a ripple effect, right? So, for example, I said that one of the things I want to do is I want to feel more proactive with my productivity. In the past, I've been very proactive this last year. And I think because the last couple of years have been really, really hard for me personally. I dealt with a lot of family things, some really deep emotional wounds that I've had to process. I'm still processing, right? And so because of that, those things have kind of taken a back seat of really feeling on my A game. So when I say, I want to be more productive, what I can really link that back to is consistency. So if I start to show up consistently towards my goals, my dreams, the things that I want to do, that will naturally make me more productive, right? That will actually make me more on purpose. That will actually lead to more results, all those other things that I want, right? So for me, it's the consistency. That's the word that really is going to change things for me this year. That's the area I want to improve in. Right now, there have been seasons when I've been super consistent. This is not one of them. All right. So, this doesn't mean that you're always this way. This could be where you are right now in this season. And this season, I've fallen into some poor habits of not being consistent. So, what is the one that would make the biggest difference? Those are the ones that we want. We want to go for those really big, low hanging fruit that if I just went for this one, if I changed to this one, this would have a super ripple effect in all areas of my life. Okay. And if you want to share it in the comments, I would love to hear. If you're part of the Hey Girl You Can community, head over to our private Facebook group, pop it in there so we can support each other and work with each other there. And if you want to jump ahead for all 20 questions, you can grab that on Tara G Online. One of the things that I do is I try to send out emails every week that have, either videos, training videos, resources, ways that you can work with me, other resources that I'm coming across. I want to make that accessible to you. So if you're not getting emails from me, this is a great way to do that. Get the book, and then you'll have the option if you want to stay connected to me. Um, so I will be here every day. This is one of my things with consistency. I will be here every day sharing with one of the 20 questions that we will be going over. Okay. So again, today's question, what aspect of yourself would you want to change or improve? And I would love to hear your thoughts. And just imagine if we take these 20 days together and we dive a little bit deeper and we start to reflect. And I would encourage you to grab a journal, a notebook, a clean notebook where you're going to put all of these thoughts into it. If you have this, it'll have space to write. So you can just download this, print it out. You'll have plenty of places to write all of your notes. But this way, you could also really keep this as something that you can reflect back to all year long and say, okay, am I really where I want to be? Am I moving towards these things that at the beginning of the year, when I was motivated, when I felt energized, when I felt the freshness of a new year, I was really committed to, versus, it's now July and you're like, I forgot what I was even saying I wanted to do, right? Where many of us find ourselves. So that's why I really like this, because you can write it down, you can keep it, you can put it in. This is a three-ring binder. You can just staple it together, whatever you want, but you'll have all your pages and your questions. Okay. So I will see you guys tomorrow. I can't wait to read your comments, and we will tackle question 2 in the 20 questions to reinvent our lives.